Senator, Governor.
This committee owes an apology. Apology, Senator.
Senator, we're both part of the same hypocrisy.
I got my own family, Senator.
Senator, you can have my answer now if you like. My offer is this: nothing.
Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Wednesday to you. The senators are here. State Senator Alan Cropsey, the Republican from DeWitt, and State Senator Jason Allen, the Republican from the Traverse City area. Good morning, senators.
Good morning, sir.
Nice to see you.
Great day today, Michael Patrick.
Thank you. You're on television right now, and I was noticing your tie. And what did you say to me before the news break?
I said this is a Ulysses S. Grant tie, not a Jack Daniels tie.
They have a striking resemblance, though, don't they?
I think Ulysses S. Grant used a lot of Jack Daniels. For medicinal purposes.
He would have had to. Steve Yencich is with us, too, from the Michigan Lodging and Tourism Association. Their legislative conference is today down the street here near the Capitol, and he'll be knocking on doors, apparently, at the state Capitol today. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. Actually, we'll come outside of Chambers to say hello.
Outside of Chambers, okay. Let me just give a little bit of news here. I don't know if any of you experienced this yesterday, but there was a storm last night to end all storms. 72-mile-per-hour winds, lightning show like I've never seen, more dramatic than any fireworks, and 76-mile-per-hour winds offshore in Muskegon, 72 miles per hour in Grand Rapids. That was about 8:30 to 9:30, and then here in Lansing it struck at about 10 as I was driving on 96. Trees are blocking roads. There are some live wires down, and 60,000 people in the state were without electric service yesterday from Consumers Energy. School closings in Grand Rapids include Brookside Elementary, Congress Elementary, Creston High, City High Middle School, and all of Lincoln campus schools closed due to power, and there was an art prize contestant who lost his sculpture yesterday. Paul Flickinger had a water sculpture called Blue Chaos blown from its base during the storm at the B.O.B. There on Monroe Avenue. So he's going to have to try to scramble to put that all back together. Speaking of big wins, this talk show host in South Bend, did you hear what he said about our coach, Mark D'Antonio? This is somebody called Matt Patrick, who should change his last name as far as I'm concerned. It was his 7th show on this news talk station, WTRC in South Bend. And by the way, Michigan State football coach Mark D'Antonio is out of the hospital. He's not going to be on the sideline this weekend. He says he has full confidence in the offensive coordinator, Don Treadwell. But here's what this radio host said after Michigan State beat Notre Dame.
Hi, it's Matt Patrick from 95.3 MNC, Michiana's Morning News. Now, a lot of people have taken me to task because I think that something spiritual happened on the field with Notre Dame and Michigan State in East Lansing. Of course, we all know what took place at the very end of the game. We're in overtime. We've got the fake field goal going on. Notre Dame should have defended that play. They ran the play. The clock runs down to double zeros. I mean, they ran the video back. We saw 2 zeros on the play clock before the play even went off. So the referee, the back judge, who is responsible, should have called that play dead, but they didn't. And of course, the play took place. Notre Dame didn't defend it the way they should have, and they lost the game against Michigan State. But the real story is what happened afterwards. What happened afterwards is rather sad, but shocking and telling all at the same time. Mark D'Antonio, the head coach for Michigan State, had a mild heart attack. They rushed him to the hospital, and they had to put a stent in his heart. He's going to be fine. Everything is going to be fine. He'll recuperate. May not be on the field this weekend, but he'll be fine. The moral of the story, you mess around with the Fighting Irish, you cheat on the last play of the game, overtime, and beat the Irish, God's going to get you. Keep that in mind. Join us tomorrow beginning at 5 a.m. It's Michiana's Morning News, 95.3 MNC.
Senator Cropsey, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, I just, I don't understand why he would say such a thing. I just...
Very insensitive, isn't it?
Absolutely.
God's going to get you. I wanted to ask a couple of things that I thought was interesting. I wanted to ask you about this. This was in the New York Times yesterday. In Missouri, apparently, when judges sentence criminals, they are told how much it will cost a prison sentence if they assign the crime. So here it is. For instance, someone convicted of endangering the welfare of a child, a judge might learn now that a 3-year prison sentence would run more than $37,000 in costs, while probation would cost only $6,770. A second-degree robber, the judge would be told, would carry a price tag of less than $9,000 for 5 years of intensive probation, but in prison, that would be $50,000. So this idea is controversial because no other state does that.
Right.
And should the judge be weighing in the cost of the punishment to go with the crime?
No, I think the judge shouldn't be looking at that aspect of it. The judge ought to be looking at the justice aspect of it and saying, does this sentence fit the crime that was committed, and not looking at the cost. I mean, as the legislature, we look at the cost of the whole prison system because, very frankly, when it comes right down to it, you know, they like to say, well, the cost for an individual prisoner is maybe $30,000 or $35,000 a year in the Michigan prison system. However, in order to make those savings, you have to close down a whole prison or the whole wing of a prison. You just can't say, oh, just this one person, because you're talking about the marginal cost. Well, the marginal cost is very little. And so you have to talk about the cost of a large grouping, which would be a wing of a prison or a whole prison.
Economy of scale, sort of.
Yeah, really, it is.
I see. There was some action yesterday. Looks like we're going to get some prison closures.
No, that's not what we voted on
not likely?
yesterday. The governor had proposed 2 prison closures. She wouldn't tell us where they were going to be, and it was going to be in March and June of next year. And we said, now, wait a moment. Our cost per prisoner in this state is very high when you take a look at it in an aggregate. And I said, you know, I think the next governor can find more savings in the department without closing down more prisons. And so we have the cost, the savings, so-called savings that the governor said she would have made by 2 prisons being closed. We have spread that out over the 40 correctional facilities that we have, the 40 prisons that we have in the state. So, and I think you let the wardens and the other folks in those individual prisons try and figure out how to come up with those savings. I think they can do it.
Well,
but it is fair to say it was very contentious, and Al had to stand his ground very regularly with that negotiation.
But the corrections department is saying closures are still likely.
That's we did not put in that bill anything on closures. They had wanted that. We said, I said no. I said that's not going to pass the legislature.
Steve Yencich, as we heard earlier, is going to be doing some business with you today, and I think that Senator Allen, more than anybody, is linked with tourism in the state of Michigan. I think that's fair to say, and economic growth in the state of Michigan. He's a full partner, wouldn't you say, in the Michigan Lodging and Tourism Association's effort to get permanent funding for Pure Michigan?
Absolutely, Michael Patrick. There has been no greater gladiator for this industry over the course of not just his term in the Senate, but his term in the House as well. A man that I think understands that it's not just a woods and water and resort phenomena. It takes place in every single county. You know, people understand Detroit is the single largest destination in the state. So, yeah, Senator Allen has done a tremendous job.
And we heard Senator Richardville say earlier this morning, who would have thought Monroe County is a big draw for tourists, too.
Correct. And I think Steve was in front of committee yesterday and sort of highlighted what has gone on in southeast Michigan. When we start taking a look at the tourism numbers for last summer, and they're still doing a lot of computations, we saw a significant amount of increase of out-of-state tourism. We saw occupancies up. Now, still we're at a tough time, but we saw some very, very good results out of the Pure Michigan advertising program. What we've got to do now is come up with consistent funding, and I hope in lame duck that we're able to find world peace and move this issue forward. But it's been very, very challenging to come up with a consensus on what to do, to come up with a consistency of between about $20 to $25 million. I
notice you two now call it consistent funding, not permanent funding. Does permanent scare people?
Same thing. You know, there's going to be several different pools of resources that we're going to be using. One is potentially the aspect of additional fees on rental cars. Another one is the aspect of what we need to be doing on TIF districts, whether you use a general appropriation that we're able to earmark. We've got to come up with a permanent solution.
Do we know which gubernatorial candidates support consistent funding?
Yeah, they both said on their websites, and some of our members have talked with each candidate. They both indicate strong support for Pure Michigan. Unfortunately, at this juncture, neither one provides any detail as to how they would make that happen. And I think that's the crux of the matter is we find strong support in both chambers on both sides of the aisle. We are getting to the point, though, where we need to make a decision, because if this issue gets punted from this legislature to the next, we're going to have 60 new representatives. We're going to have 29 freshman senators. We're going to have a brand new governor, and we're not going to bring this issue to to bear until well after the time that we need to get that summer tourism season program going, and that would be, I think, a tragedy.
You're really up against the clock then.
We are.
No doubt about that.
Because you missed autumn now, you'll miss the ski season in winter, and you could miss next summer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And people will say, are the lights still on in Michigan? Real quickly, are our state workers going to get an early buyout? Are we going to iron that out or
We're
not?
still trying to find world peace.
Can we have just a little peace, even if it isn't world peace? And yes or no, do we need a constitutional convention?
No.
No.
Okay. Be expensive?
And we need to
Hurt
have
business?
we have to have a consistent tax policy. And if we're going to expand business, a consistent tax policy under a constitutional convention won't happen.
Senators, thank you very much for being here.
It's great being here.
Have fun down the street today at the Capitol. Steve Yencich will be with you again in a few minutes. It's 18 after the hour. Michael Patrick Shields.